Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
there we go. I got the notification.
yeah, there we go. All right. I think we're live now.
Yep, there we go. We got the light.
All right. Hello, everyone. Anarchia here, and I am with Elisha TV tonight.
Hello, everyone. Thank you
So,
for me.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for viewing. So, tonight I wanted to interview Elisha TV about her experience attending a Milo Yiannopoulos event. So let's see. Hold on. Let me see if I can view the. Okay. All right. I can view the chat.
All
Okay.
right, let me know when a few people are here.
Yeah, we'll wait just a few minutes maybe to see.
It's my waiting for the viewers dance.
Okay. Yeah, I see that there are some viewers now.
Excellent. Hello, everyone. I'm Elisha from Elisha TV, and I'm here with Anarchia Miller. So maybe tell them one more time what you're going to be talking to me about today, just for anybody who's coming in now.
Yeah. Now that. Okay. So I will be interviewing Elisha TV tonight about her experience at a Milo Yiannopoulos college campus event. So, just as an introduction, I came across Elisha TV's channel because she did a book review on Milo's book Dangerous. And I really enjoyed her review, and I found her channel to be very engaging. So I got in contact with her, and we decided to set up this interview. And she let me know that she had actually attended a Milo event. So that's what we'll be talking about tonight.
And did you find my Milo book review when you uploaded your book review?
I actually did it prior.
Oh, really? Okay. All right, because then you sent me the link to yours and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're both Milo fans." And that's how we became fast friends.
Yes.
Now, this
Inst-
was the Milo show that I saw was December 7th of 2016. So, it's been a little while and things have changed quite a bit, but when it happened, there were still the cancellations left and right. It was the first one that I was supposed to go to was University of Michigan, and they canceled that in September, about 24 hours after we had got the tickets, but it was free
wow.
tickets. So, I mean, you can't complain. Now you have to pay for tickets, which is totally fine, but it seems like venues are still shutting them down even a year and a couple months later, 14 months later, he's still being shut down constantly. But it was a relief that Michigan State ended up having him, despite the fact that Antifa was very much so present, as were Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, and just for everyone's information, in the description below, I put Alicia's video of her experience at the Milo event as
Oh,
well.
good. Yes, there is an entire 11-minute video if you care to see it. I filmed the whole event outside and inside. There were well, first of all, it was about 17 degrees outside when we were there. So we were waiting outside for about maybe an hour and 20 minutes or so. And while freezing our asses off, there were plenty of Black Lives Matter people standing off to the side holding their signs. And on the other side, they were chanting the ever so well known chant, "No KKK, no fascist USA, no Trump." And that was actually the first time I had ever heard that from a Milo event, because he's filmed outside plenty of his events. He sent his camera people out to film what's going on. So that was the first time I had heard that. And next, a few weeks later, he showed another show of his, and people were outside. And I'm like, wait a second. they're chanting this exact same thing. And then there was a time where Ben Shapiro was on and people were chanting the same thing outside. It's like, wait a second. Wait a second. Could these protesters possibly be paid? Could this possibly be what's going on here? They're reusing the same old chants.
Yeah, so I guess probably one of my first questions for you is, when you were approaching this event, before you got into the event, when you were filming Antifa protesters, did you hear anyone that had a legitimate argument or that wanted a conversation about what was going on, or was it just the chant, like they were told to chant a particular thing?
Well, what they believed was put on their beautiful, beautiful signs that they were holding up. So it was read their signs, hear their chant, but trying to talk to them, I didn't exactly try to talk to them. Perhaps it is because I am just this small, frail woman. Just kidding. But I'm pretty sure no one would have talked to me had I actually engaged with them. But they were covering their faces primarily, and one stood right next to me for a while, just kind of standing there. Really tall fellow. Turned out it was Milo in disguise. Didn't even know it. There was him and a few of his friends. They were trying to protest their own event, and of course with the ski mask on, you have no idea who's under there, and it happened to be him. So there were people who would try to break in to the entrance. They said at one point, if you go in and watch the video, they actually show the police officers and security coming out and saying, okay, if you're not here for Milo, you need to leave immediately, basically, or you'll be arrested. They didn't really want to comply, and people got arrested.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw a few people get arrested. One guy was slammed up against the glass door, shouting some sort of unintelligible nonsense about fascism and whatnot. So I just laughed at him. Laughed at him, filmed him, put him on my YouTube channel. I mean, that's what everybody does, right? When you see Antifa.
Oh, yeah.
You can't help but bring out the camera.
Well, yeah, one of my other questions, because I really want to attend a Milo event, and I'm sure a lot of my viewers, if they haven't yet, would like to attend a Milo event. So did you feel safe with the security there? Because I know that's a big concern for people, is they are aware that Antifa will show up, and that they're not exactly the most reasonable group of people to show up to an event like this.
Of course not. Of course not. Reasonable is not a part of their vocabulary. But what I wasn't so much concerned with not having good security. I felt pretty safe knowing that I did see police officers there. I did see security. They did have guns, and I felt safer with the guns present. Would you imagine that?
I know, right?
What a coinkydink. But my fiance, who was my boyfriend at the time, tomorrow is actually our 1-year anniversary of being engaged. So,
congratulations.
Thank you very much. He was there, and my father was there with me, so I was not without.
You weren't alone.
Oh, I was absolutely very safe, and there wasn't any type of altercation. Nobody was getting maced. Nobody was getting beat by baseball bats. But this was prior to Milo's event in UC Berkeley, the first time where they rioted and essentially burned their whole city, smashed Starbucks, and, wrecked everything that they cared about because they were angry. So it wasn't that Antifa was not violent at that moment. It's just that it had not exploded into the terribleness that it was in UC Berkeley. Did you see all of that on the news when that happened?
Oh, yes, I was.
I'm sure you've seen it multiple times. They've replayed it.
Oh, yeah. So this was prior, right? Yeah, you said it was prior.
December, I want to say maybe February or March. UC Berkeley was last year.
Yeah.
So it was a few months before, and it wasn't that I was not scared, because we had gotten word through the lovely internet that there were definitely going to be protesters there, and they had the event, and they were trying to get as many people to attend. And it said somewhere around, 200, 300 people were supposedly going to be there. There was about 12. Turns out Antifa doesn't like the cold very much. If it requires them to do too much work, they're not going to be interested.
Well, that's what's great about northern states, is that it really deters people that cannot tolerate any kind of hardship whatsoever.
Oh, exactly. And I am absolutely a little wimp when it comes to the cold, but I was standing there ready to go, happy and warm and waiting.
Oh, that would be me too. I absolutely hate the cold, but for a Milo event, I think I would tolerate it. The only thing that would bug me is, as my viewers know and as you know, I'm really big into concealed carry, like daily carry. So obviously, in an event like that, I couldn't carry inside the event. But if I knew the security was, um, safe enough, then I would attend the event. So you said you felt safe during the event.
Oh, at one point in time, when we had first been let in and we went and got seats in, I want to say maybe the third or fourth row, there were about 6 police officers in the lobby, just kind of standing separated in between the opening doors of the lobby into the theater. So I walked out and I went to the bathroom before the show, and I see another person getting arrested inside. It was like, oops, one slipped through. One slipped through the cracks. Please remove him. Dispose of the roach. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Antifa are cockroaches, essentially. Of the Milo shows, they are the cockroaches. It's like, get the cockroaches out of here. I don't know. Have you ever been somewhere with cockroaches? Antifa resembles them very much.
Actually, I never literally seen a cockroach until I moved to Texas from Utah.
Really?
And it was terrifying, and I absolutely wanted it out of there. So, yeah.
There were cockroaches. I know, side story. There were cockroaches at my friend's sister's house once in Florida, and I beat them to death with a measuring cup. So with cockroaches, you can use violence, but with Antifa, just stay away, because if you're a female just standing there minding your own business, you're going to get pepper sprayed.
Yeah, the irony, because they're claiming that the person that you're going to see hates women, and
the biggest misogynist of them all actually called on a woman, myself, first at the questions at the end of his performance. Well, show. Yes. Speech. It's more of a performance. Milo doesn't just
more of a performance.
It is. It's performance art. It's like I don't know if you care for musicals or anything like that, but Milo is very theatrical, and he had black fingernail polish and black lipstick on that day. It was his retaking Constantinople. And it was definitely filled with many, many references to ancient Rome. And he even had pillars on stage. He knocked one over and broke it. But I'm sure with his money, he can pay for a replacement.
That's awesome. He did that comparison with ancient Rome, because what we're facing now, we're kind of experiencing the late stages of the Roman Empire. At least the United States is. So it's extremely relevant.
Oh yes, and as long as it doesn't throw us back into the Middle Ages, I rather like my toilets. So as long as it doesn't send us back, the Romans with their advanced technology. Oh boy. Do you think technology has played a part in just the easy belief system of, oh, I was just told this? Because I know the news does. Everybody knows that the news plays a part in telling people what to think, how to feel about things. But I would have to say that Milo has a substantial following that understands just because everyone says that he did these things doesn't mean he actually did.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's great about the internet is that people can fact check. They can fact check very easily. I mean, they can view multiple sources within minutes.
And sometimes those sources aren't enough, and they still think he's a Nazi.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So before we get into when you were asked a question at the event, was there anyone that slipped in that wasn't necessarily a cockroach that disagreed with Milo, that was able to ask a question, or was everyone that disagreed with him extremely violent and disrespectful?
I do not remember there being anybody who came in who asked him a question, and I don't believe that there was anybody at my particular show that stood up and started protesting in the back. There may have been one person, but it's like the people who did things like that, if they did, I don't even remember it because that's how much I didn't care about what they were doing. So it's the fact that they believe that if we go out and we protest these things, someone is going to have their mind changed and we're going to win one over for the leftists. It's like, no, guys, you're going to come and you're going to be an annoyance and everyone's going to wait for you to leave. They're going to call you a cockroach on a live stream 14 months later, and that's just what it's going to be.
Well, they play right into Milo's strategy, which is, leftists don't, at least the extreme left, like Antifa, they don't operate on valid arguments. So the best way to do it is just to kind of bring out the worst in them, like show how irrational they are, and they display that right in front of his speeches, and they play right into it.
Right, exactly. It's like bringing a child to the grocery store and they see a toy that they want or a candy that they want at the checkout, and you say no and they throw a fit, and you just kind of sit there and you say, okay, we're gonna go home, and you're still not getting the toy, and they realize, okay, me getting angry is not gonna get me that toy I want. Milo is not gonna go away. I will not get that candy bar. He's still gonna be there. But I still think no matter what, they're gonna be back. It's like their life water. They have to be there. They have to. I think that they honestly get some sort of like an endorphins boost or a thrill when they go to protest these events. I mean, I really feel it's like a sport for them. It's like a blood sport. But it was like a pre-show. It was like an opening act. Antifa was like the opening act. I was like, yeah, all right, okay, let's do this. This is fun. Hey, I was saying to my dad and my fiance, hey guys, look, there's real Antifa here. They actually exist.
Oh yeah. Okay. So one of my favorite moments in your video about this was, when you zoomed in on the Black Lives Matter sign. You're like, look, a Black Lives Matter sign in the wild. I think that's funny because I would love to attend a Milo event because I would actually like to see some of this stuff in person.
But yeah, it was great. It was thrilling. It was like an endorphins boost for me. It was like, oh, this is great. But he puts on such a show. If he's ever in the area, wherever you are, you absolutely need to go see him. I would recommend him to just about anyone. I mean, left, right, center. Hillary Clinton should read his book. I know she's read his previous Breitbart articles. So he is awesome. And the fact that he would take time, I'm not sure what his shows are like now. I'm not sure if they're actually live streamed on YouTube like they used to be. But he will take the time, especially, I mean, I've heard shows of his where he'll say, especially if you want to disagree with me and ask me a question, I would like to take you first. So it's not like he just wants to take people like me who come up and say, oh, Milo, I love you. And he says, oh, that's one thing we have in common. So he's just an overall very good political icon for our generation who kind of just sticks it to the left. He's like, you know what? My stereotype that I am, this gay man who was raised Jewish/Catholic and likes black guys, how could he possibly be racist and homophobic? It's just he's the perfect oxymoron for the left to they love to hate him. So I love to love him. It's a wonderful relationship.
So what do you think was your favorite I guess sign or chant or protest from Antifa? At least what was the most entertaining for you about that? Because I have to admit, part of the reason why I would love to go to a Milo event is to see Antifa's behavior in person.
The smaller the amount of Antifa, the more timid they become.
Yeah, because I mean they're very collective, so you would almost need a bigger group of them for them to act more bold. Because I've seen videos where as soon as they're singled out,
Oh, I'm almost positive, like I said before, if it wasn't 17 degrees there, there could have very well been 300. There could have been more of a problem. I'm just glad that it worked out the way it did.
mm,
Nobody was shot like that one time outside Milo's one event. I'm not sure where exactly that was, but do you remember that? Somebody was shot outside.
I
Heavily.
heard about that. I can't remember which event that was though.
I can't remember, but it was. Oh, I want to say it was after I went, because I remember saying, "Whoo, if that would have happened before, I probably would have been a little too scared, but who am I kidding? I probably would risk my life for Milo even once more." But it was a fantastic event. So at the end, like I said, my questions that he actually got to answer, you had mentioned that you wanted to highlight on those, and I actually did write down what questions they were. His
Yeah,
answers were very elaborate, shall I say, for lack of better terms. He went on for about 8 or 9 minutes, so if you want to see the original, check out my video below.
yeah. I posted the link below in the description. So, yeah, so let's go into your questions that you had asked him. And I guess you can explain why you asked those questions or why you think they're important. So, you had asked him, it was more of a two-part question, but you had asked him two questions. So, what were your questions?
Well, the first one was why does he think that so many people will claim to be liberal or left wing, but they live their lives more as a conservative than a liberal?
Mm-hmm.
And his response was essentially, people are more natural libertarians, which is what you and I talked about just the other day. That
Yeah.
it's more natural human instinct to kind of just say, you know what, I just want to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
So that was essentially his response, is that more people will just say they're on one side or the other because people's political divide is more based on circumstances and how they're raised. So they're pretty well set in, well, I'm a Democrat, or oh, I'm a Republican, and people don't really realize that they're more, at least in our generation,
Yeah.
I think more libertarian is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
But my second question more or less pertained to what he was saying during the speech. And that was that I asked, pertaining to Muslims wanting Sharia law in other countries, such as America or in England, it reminded me very much so of how the left wants hate speech laws to be followed because that would just be the best way for them. And Muslims want Sharia law. It's kind of the same thing. It's like a just an idea that a utopia will be controlled and everyone will be better if we just follow these laws. Don't say hateful things. Just forget hate speech. Hate speech is terrible. So his response to that was pretty much just don't mistake the left for having any understanding of ration and reason, which I believe you actually said in the opening of this.
Yeah.
It's just they replace logic with feelings and identity politics. So
Mm-hmm.
he, of course, elaborated much more so on that, but essentially that was his answer, and I thought that was pretty much spot on.
Yeah. Actually, to elaborate a little more on that, I listened to one of his podcasts recently. He has this theory as to why social justice warriors and Muslims, why they support Muslims in the way they do. Not just because they share a common enemy, but because they fear self-accountability so much and they fear freedom, they really want structure. They want someone to tell them what to do.
Yep, it
So,
would make the perfect utopia if we
yeah.
just followed these rules. It would be so easy.
Yeah, so I found that interesting because, I've tried to figure that out too. I'm like, how can you support a religion? How can you be a social justice warrior and support a religion that persecutes gays, that persecutes women, and perpetuates rape culture, like actual rape culture? You know, not the rape culture that they claim exists in Western culture, which...
The legit rape culture.
Yeah, the legit rape culture.
The legit toxic masculinity, as they say.
Exactly. And I think there's just this... I almost wonder if they are aware of this or if they're not. If it's just this...
To them, it's about feelings and brown people, essentially. If you are not white, therefore you are oppressed, and we feel bad because you're oppressed, therefore we care about you. It's all about caring and loving and throwing facts out the window for feelings. Which I think that's what it boils down to. It's not... It to them feels better to feel than it does to think.
Mm-hmm.
It's thinking versus feeling, which I think is the true difference between conservatives and liberals, Republicans and Democrats, what have you. Mm-hmm. Is that conservatives are more likely to use the term I think, and liberals are more likely to use the term I feel.
I feel, yeah, exactly.
Talk to a liberal, or even if it's on the internet, read the comments. 9 times out of 10, they will say I feel instead of I think. Which is not bad to feel. Feelings are great. But when it comes to logical things, thoughts kind of overpower emotion.
Exactly.
That's why I think in zombie apocalypse, social justice warriors would feel bad, and it would be a crime to kill zombies because it would be inhumane.
So, have you had any experience with, well, just to give my background, I went to a liberal arts college in back when I lived in Utah. So I had been educated in feminism, and I had toyed with it for a little bit because I had an open mind. I'm like, okay, if they have solid arguments, I'll, play this out. Did you ever go through a phase? I know you said you grew up conservative. I did too.
Oh yes.
As a Mormon, but did you have a phase? I know as millennials at some point we're usually exposed to social justice or feminism.
I was exposed to feminism, I would say maybe beginning of high school, based on some of my female theater friends. And my basic understanding of it then was girl power. And it was like, oh yeah, cool, girl power. But it was never any basis of, okay, well, what is it?
Mm-hmm.
And it was well before I found Milo that I realized that he is correct. Feminism is indeed cancer. I don't know, there were times where I would watch bearing videos, and there were times where I would just see clips online of, feminist arguments. And every time I'd watch, I would just say, that just sounds so stupid. Or a Facebook post about a dress code being sexist. And it's like, oh, shut up. So it kind of just started bothering me for a while. It almost made me think that women were just being overly sensitive to the fact that men exist and men have some abilities, such as they're physically stronger than women, and they don't have cleavage that they have to worry about, and somehow women are oppressed. And it made me angry thinking that we could possibly feel oppressed by something so trivial as a dress code. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, you guys, children in schools have to follow dress codes. They're there for a reason. So, I don't know. That stuff always irked me. It's like, oh, yeah, the teacher's sexist. Yeah, your boobs are out. I'm sorry. Wear a sweatshirt. Oh, and I've been called sexist for that. I've been called self-loathing for that. And it's just like, oh, give me a break. Like, I haven't heard that a million times.
Well, I told you, I think I told you the story the last time I talked to you, but I'll tell it for the viewers too. I was a psychology major, so I was really interested in how the brain actually works, like scientifically, right? So signed up for a class that was called Women's Psychology because I wanted to see, okay, is there a difference in how men and women think and all that. Like, I want to study that. So first day of class, I show up and I'm told that the professor couldn't teach that class, so they were going to teach a similar subject instead, which was feminism.
Similar subject. That's keyword for you're going to be indoctrinated, ladies.
I know. I look back at it now and I'm like, okay, that seems a little more like it was done on purpose.
Now, quick question about that. Did anyone in your class ever disagree with the professor on anything that he taught? Ask any questions contradicting what he said. Like, well, what about this? Is that really true?
No. Honestly, what was interesting was that it was new to us, so we were kind of intrigued by it. I mean, everyone is pretty open-minded, but I look back and I'm like, we should have pushed back a little more.
I mean, that makes sense. The crazy feminist movement, I would say, maybe started in 2013.
Yeah, that was the year I graduated. So this is when it started really getting into college.
So you were the fresh first generation of this new age feminist to think, uh-oh, something's not right here, folks. I think I'm going to do more research on my own, which I'm very glad you did.
Yeah. And what was interesting about it was that it was presented as more of an egalitarian thing, which I think appeals to a lot of millennials. It appealed to me. I'm like, okay, egalitarianism makes sense. I mean,
of course,
everyone as an individual was, what I was looking for. But I always question, why do they call it feminism, though? Why not just call it egalitarian?
Right, egalitarianism. That's a thing, correct?
Yeah, so I was kind of like, okay, maybe it's just labeled weird, but maybe I should still support this movement because it has some validity in what it's doing. But over the years, I started to see that a lot of feminists were very anti-free market and very anti self-accountability. Everything was put and blamed on society and other people.
Or blamed on men in particular, anti-male.
In particular, white men.
Yes.
And I had I had a problem if it was supposed to be egalitarian. I'm like, well, why aren't we talking about fathers not having equal rights to their children? Because if it's about egalitarianism, we should be talking about that too.
Oh yeah.
So that's when it all started to unravel for me. And luckily, I didn't stay in that movement for too long. I mean, I'm still kind of embarrassed. For a very short period of time, I considered myself a feminist. But
no, don't be embarrassed to have at one point in time learned something to change your opinion and better it. I mean, that's what growing up is all about, and that's what the college experience is about. And thinking, maybe these liberal professors are not totally telling the real world view. Maybe they're just telling one side. And it's important that you went out and researched for yourself and were able to figure out what exactly is going on behind the scenes. How much is fact and how much is myth?
Yeah, what was interesting is I remember in particular the conversations about the wage gap. And I remember being very confused because I'm like, what are they talking about a wage gap? Because at the time I think I was working at Walgreens or something at the time. And I was like, what are they talking about? I make the same amount as my male counterparts at Walgreens. Like, what are they saying I make less? And what they were doing is they were averaging. It was really confusing. And looking back, I'm like, that should have been a red flag back then, but I was so caught up in wanting to be open-minded about other people's arguments. So I was like, okay, I'll let people finish their their so-called arguments. But.
Well, the arguments that I see the majority of the time on Facebook are just baseless. Just absolutely baseless. It's like they get to one point in the thinking process And then they stop. It's like, no, well, what about this or this or this? It's like, nope, I made up my mind. I've gotten to this point A, and this is where I stop. And it's like, no. What about the rest of the alphabet? No, I'm happy at A. This is where I feel comfortable. I feel safe in my safe space. And that's where they stop. So that's the number one thing to stop somebody from learning or opening their mind or asking questions. I mean, if you just read something online and you think, oh gosh, that's terrible. Now, wait a second. Is this true? Before you go getting emotionally invested in it and sharing it on Facebook, prior to researching anything whatsoever, please just look into it for a little bit. I see that all the time in my feed. I'm sure you do too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so at the event, did you notice any faculty members at the college that attended? Like any professors?
It was hard to tell because it was open to the public and I did not attend the school. I was just coming in from the city that I live in. It was about an hour and a half away. So there were adults, people of all ages. I think probably the youngest people were college students. So of course there were no children. There were some older people, like my dad. Just kidding, I love you, Dad. So I mean, but people were generally excited. I mean, the energy in that room before Milo came on was just. I was talking to all these guys around me. They were like little schoolboys. Like, are you excited to see Milo? Like, you know, full grown 24, 25-year-old men. I was like, yes, I'm excited to see Milo. They're like, cool. My name's so and so, and I was like, hi, I'm Elisha. And it was like, I don't know. You just felt like you knew these people your whole life. It was like, oh, we could geek out about this one thing together, and it's just great. So I talked to quite a few other Milo fans outside, but there was an even mixture, I'd say, between female and male students who saw Milo.
Okay.
And there were actually people of different races in the room.
Oh, that's surprising.
They actually like Milo? So shocking. The left would have you believe that people who are not white should hate Milo. So it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I would do again. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And, yeah. It's like my generic thing I do at the end of the video. It's like, what else do I have to say? Nope, that's it. Milo's just awesome. They pretty much get the picture.
So, were there any negative, like, you were the first person to ask a question or two questions. What were the other questions, and was there anyone that was challenging Milo more so, or
not really so much challenging? I can honestly say to you, I don't remember the questions in particular because I did not use their questions in my video. Mm-hmm. I just tried to stick to, you know, what it was my experience and my questions. But the original video for Milo, I wouldn't say maybe 7 or 8 people asked him questions, and he talked for about another half hour or so afterwards. So he gives his extra time, and they ended up having to say to him, usually he did a meet and greet at the end of his old shows. Mine was the first one that there was no meet and greet, but, you know, being able to talk to him was great. I probably would have died had I actually been able to, you know, go up to him. So it kind of probably saved my life a little bit.
Yeah,
they said, get out, security needs to leave. They had security for a certain amount of time. They said, oh, well, you can't stay any further. Security needs to leave. That's what you paid for, and it's over at whatever it was, 11 o'clock. So it's like, okay, nobody gets to meet Milo, so we just kind of left, and no problems outside. Antifa went home. They were too lazy and cold.
Yeah, I would love to go to a Milo event here in Texas. You know, more than likely it won't be as cold.
That, and don't necessarily see the likelihood of it being canceled being very high.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Texas would be a very safe place to have.
Unless it's Austin. Austin is the one part of Texas
that's what you were telling me the other day. Yes, we had a lovely discussion over Google Hangouts a few days ago about how the city of Austin is a very SJW-friendly environment, shall we say.
Yes, it's the weird part of Texas.
Oh, yes.
As
The one
Texans.
little tiny blue corner on the map. It's like one flea on an elephant's back.
And that's why they call it San Austin.
Oh boy. Question that I don't think I have asked you yet about Milo.
Mm-hmm.
When was the first time that you found out about him, and how did you find out about him?
Actually, it was through a friend that was triggered by him from college. She had shared something from him. So it shows that he markets very well. I mean, people hear about him because people get triggered by what he says. And then through people hating him, they expose more people to his material.
As Milo has said before, and many people have said in the past, no publicity is bad publicity.
Mm-hmm.
All coverage is good. Any exposure you can get, whether it be good or bad, is a good thing. Because there are people out there who will say, like you did, wait a second, this doesn't seem right. Maybe this is not what they say it is. Oh, would you look at that? It's not. And that is why Milo has the fan base that he has, is because despite all of the social justice warriors, leftists, radicals, whatever, everybody minus the classic liberal, because the classic liberal is actually, I think, an endangered species right now.
I actually think a lot of classic liberals are more, they identify as libertarian now, or even conservatarian is the word that we're using now.
Well, I had someone yesterday tell me that I should not own a gun because there is absolutely no need whatsoever. I'm thinking you are going to trust the government, really? And it's like, wait a second. The left wants more government. The right wants less government. And the libertarians are like, please, can we just get rid of the majority of the government? Do we really need these guys? And that is the way to be, I think. Somewhere smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, like in your video, in Milo's response to your question, he says a lot of it now boils down to who just wants to be left alone and who wants to control everyone else.
Because yes, the libertarians versus the authoritarians, he said.
Yes, that's how he phrased it.
Which is totally the case. The idea that the left themselves, for example, wants to have nobody question any of the things they do, well, just accept it. Just accept it. This makes people feel better. But when it comes to the right and things such as guns, it's, well, we don't like that. We don't like that you do that. It's like, well, how would you react if we said we don't like such and such, whatever it may be? Like the trans military ban, for example. Mm-hmm. Well, we gave reasons of why we thought that it wasn't good. You were okay with that, but why are you not okay with us having guns? Why is that something that you just could not stand for? It could never be accepted that that's just a way of life. And it's like, you know what? Good luck taking down the Second Amendment, because there are quite a few Americans who are not going to be too happy if you try to take their guns away out of my cold, dead hands, as they say.
Yeah, and the thing that I find interesting, and this is why I don't think leftists in general are very consistent with their arguments, is they hate Trump, right? But if they call for gun control, and it's Stefan Molyneux, I'm not going to give the whole quote because I'd butcher it, but he said there's no such thing as gun control. You're basically stating who you want to have the guns. If you want to centralize ownership to the government, and right now Trump is the president and there's, a Republican majority. Mm-hmm. So it really makes sense for them. If they don't trust the government, why would they want gun control when the government would then have all the control of the guns?
If Trump is this Hitler, evil, Nazi regime dictator who is going to take people and put them in concentration camps, why would you want normal citizens to give their guns up? It makes no sense whatsoever. So very good point. Very good point. And I saw one thing on Facebook yesterday while we're on the brief topic of guns. It said, your right to own a gun should not trump a child's life to be safe in school. It's like, okay. Say I have children. I don't, but I would like some someday. Would their safety not be important in their home?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be important for me and my fiance at the time we're married and have children to be able to protect said children? Why should guns not be allowed so they can be safe in school, but in danger at home? I'm sorry. I don't see the logic here, folks. Please, maybe slow down and tell me another time. I might be too stupid, you know?
Well, they make this assumption, and here's the thing. A lot of these leftists, and I'm personally not religious, but a lot of leftists are extremely, like, anti-Christian.
Painfully.
But they claim to reject religion, yet they seem to replace God with government, as in government has this divine power to force people through law not to obtain certain things.
Right. Like they say, oh, well, your prayers don't help. Okay, and your government will? We're talking about the power of God versus the power of incompetent people, you know. So,
yeah, so
I'm averagely religious. I don't go to church, but I do believe, I have faith, Jesus Christ is my savior. Insert all this other religiousness here, but I don't go out of my way to say to people, oh, well, this is wrong because God said it is. It's like, no, everybody's born sinners, and I think that social justice warriors in general, if they actually learned enough about it, they would realize that Christians are actually the most forgiving and nicest kind of people you could know.
Mm-hmm.
You're in need of something, boom, there's a Christian. I mean, I have a friend who is, I believe it's pronounced Ger. He is in the process of being converted to Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a channel, and he makes videos about Judaism and everything. And even as a Christian myself, I enjoy going on and watching his things and learning and asking questions. It's like, okay, well, what about this? And you would be surprised if you don't agree with somebody. If you just ask them questions, you might have a better understanding afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if people who are not religious, I mean, I know a few atheists, but there are the atheists on the internet who are different than the atheists I know in real life, who they don't care if you believe in God, they just don't.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the keyboard warriors who will go out there and just, oh, how dare you? You believe in the invisible man in the sky, how stupid are you? So.
Well, what's interesting is, like with the example, I saw something today on Facebook. Someone had asked if, and this is them kind of almost playing God in a sense, that they can claim that they know that something will happen. So they're like, if you knew that if you gave up your gun, it would save one life, would you give up the gun? It's basically giving the premise that, and so, you know, my response to that would be, well, compared to what? Like, save one life or save thousands? Because
right.
you could own guns.
Somewhere with my gun, which I cannot conceal carry. I do not have that ability, and I don't do that because that is illegal. And being a gun owner who follows the law, I follow the law. But I know that your videos, I think it was actually your last one, you were talking about the concealed carry. That is really something that looks interesting. Being able to wear even, you know, a pair of shorts and have it be concealed. I mean, that's incredible. You can consider the leftist scare about, oh, rape culture. Well, if you concealed carry, guess who wouldn't be raping you? Anybody in the world, because they get shot.
Yeah, and see, here's the part, and maybe you can let me know how you handle some of these conversations, because I don't like to. I like to give a valid, rational argument to things. I don't like to get into, emotional arguments. Like they say, whenever you say the result is, whenever you bring up dead children or whatever, like you're basically trying to invoke an emotional, not really an argument, but an emotional response out of people.
Mm-hmm.
But I am tempted to ask these people, I'm like,
it's scare tactics.
Yeah, I'm tempted to use, using their tactics, be like, if I were to tell you, if you were able to get what you want and confiscated my gun from me, and you were to find out that a week later I got raped, would you look me in the face and say, oh no, it was good that you didn't have your gun, because that would have...
You could have killed the rapist. What about the rapist's life? Don't you care about? Oh, and I'm sorry, sidetrack. They care so much about the children who were killed, which don't we all? If you're a good, decent human being, you would care about that. But they don't care about children in the womb. Not really sure the logic there either. It's like I said before, you get to one point in the thought process, and then they stop. It's like, okay. When are we supposed to start caring about children? Is it after they take their first breath? Please, let me take notes. I'm not really sure I'm following.
Yeah, it's a thing that I'm going to do a series of videos on this, but
awesome.
It's a thing called, I like to call intellectual gravity. Like you said, it stops at some point, but they don't take it all the way down to its principle.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's like they almost a few steps. It's like a logical thought process is, well, this leads you to think this, and this leads you to think this, and this is why you have your belief. They say, I think this, and that's my belief. Boom, there you go, cut and dry. Well, why? The answer is it makes you feel good inside. Do more research. I should have written down something else to ask you. I had something else, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, well, it might come to me.
So, I guess in relation to the event that you went to, did you feel that... Because I really enjoyed Milo's book, Dangerous. I think he gave some really good advice to our generation on how to handle things. Do you think it is good advice to, and this is what actually drew me to your channel. He says, to persuade people that are, you have to give up on persuading the people that are far gone, that are way left, basically. Like any interaction you have with them is just to expose how insane they are, right? And that's what he does. But for the people that are on the fence, he's like, you kind of have to be the side that will allow you to have fun, that will allow you to be yourself.
And I have a friend who may or may not be watching right now, but I would consider her a liberal, and she would consider herself that, but she has a ungodly obsession with the fact that they took down Last Man Standing. And I asked her yesterday, I said, I think it's so strange that you are so open-minded that you actually enjoyed that show for what it's worth. Do you know about that before I continue, so I'm not just completely confusing you?
Last Man Standing?
Yes, it was Tim Allen was in it, and it was very much so a conservative-based show, and he had, I believe it was his daughter and son-in-law who were very, very liberal, and he was the conservative Trump supporter, and it was more like a sitcom type of thing. But my liberal friend, that was her favorite show, and they canceled it, and she's upset about it. She's like, why can't these people even listen to the other side? Sometimes she says it's frustrating because she knows she doesn't like Trump. And I don't try to make her like Trump. He'll be on TV, and I'll say, hey, look, there's your best friend. And she's like, shut up, Elisha. Jokingly, of course. But there are many liberals out there who are not these social justice warrior types. And I've had people get so upset with me on my videos before. Oh, well, you're assuming all liberals are like this. No, no, no. Sometimes I may use the wrong term, but I'm mostly concerned with social justice warriors. I'm not concerned with blue collar Barack Obama voters. You know, those aren't the people who are the problems.
Yeah, one thing that I'm contemplating on doing is, well, first of all, what's frustrating is that definitions of things are changing daily. So, for example, liberal, we have to use the term classic liberal now to explain what liberalism was.
Like Dave Rubin.
Yeah, like Dave Rubin. I love the Rubin Report.
Oh, he's great. He's absolutely fantastic. I remember when I found him once, I was like, oh, there are liberals who actually are like real liberals used to be. I love this guy. This guy's great.
Actually engaging people that they disagree with and having conversations
from him.
Yeah, it's yeah, but the thing is, I'm kind of contemplating whether or not I like to describe people as liberal, because I'm like, you know, I almost like to use the term progressive more now, because I'm like, well,
yes, there we go.
Because I know I have a few friends that are they identify as liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they kind of lean progressive too, but they have that respect for freedom of speech. Still.
Yes, so do a lot of my friends who I would consider themselves more left leaning.
Yeah, so in a sense, I would like to respect that term a little bit, but I'm kind of wondering if almost how worth it is it with the cultural shift. I mean, over time, you know, definitions change and
like gender, sex, they used to mean the same thing, but now it's different. Beats the hell out of me.
Yeah, with Milo, I know he uses terms a little more loosely, and I think it's because who he's talking about and who he's dealing with. You know, he recognizes that definitions are changing. In that speech, did he refer to these people as liberals, or was it more?
It was more progressives. Progressive is his kind of go-to term. He didn't really seem to like the idea of liberals. The term in general. He said, you know, progressives, which you said it. I mean, that's essentially what it is, which is funny because they want to make progress, yet they're trying to do the exact opposite. Trump's like, well, here, what about this really great idea for meal shipments coming to your house? No, that's terrible because of this reason and this reason. It's like, you will never be happy. You will never be happy.
Yeah, and the irony is that the synonym for progressive now is regressive left. Yeah.
Just drop the P. Nobody needs the P. It's regressive, not progressive. Or progresso, which is a very yummy soup, which I like more than progressives. Oh, but Milo is fantastic. I know he's having another book come out. I want to say fall. Do you remember that?
I'm trying to remember when it comes out. I think it's actually supposed to be May this year.
Actually. Okay. Hopefully it actually comes out the time it says, because last year it was, I don't know, when was it supposed to be out last year? Like April or something, and it didn't come out until July? Or it was like March, and then it came out in July. But
yeah, but I guess we can talk a little bit about this, about, you know, Milo's book being originally canceled. And what I liked about that was that I think Milo talks, you know, he encourages people to be a strong individual. Basically, you know, like, move away from identity politics. You know, that's not where your strength is. Your strength is who you are as an individual.
What you have to say and how you treat people. Yeah,
and so Milo, despite being canceled and all of that, his book sales skyrocketed, and he created his own publishing company. And he's more successful, and like you pointed out in your book review, he actually looks better on the cover of his book than he did on the first book. He looked angry.
It was like they intentionally tried to make him look so scary and intimidating. Like, who I better not read that book. It might give me nightmares.
Yeah, he
And
looks so
like,
angry.
oh, I want to give you a hug.
But in the image of his the book that ended up getting published, he looked happy, he looked confident, and I it you know he turned something that was supposed to destroy him into it made him stronger.
Yeah, it was. He took a bad situation and made it better, just like the Beatles. Yeah, take a sad song and make it better. There we go. I almost had the quote right.
And just like as he would say, "Daddy."
Yes, good old Daddy Trump. And you know, Milo is the first one to go out and say, if Trump does something that he doesn't like, he'll go out and say, hey, this is how I think. This is what I believe. And his supporters will come on, and if they don't agree, they'll tell him why. And I'll see him down in the comments saying, oh, well, you know, I didn't think about that. Very good point. And he's actually retracted things that he said. Based on what everyone has said, you're right. Maybe Daddy wasn't wrong. So it's like he doesn't even have his firm beliefs. He's open for discussion. He wants you to change his mind. Just like Steven Crowder's video series that I told you about the other day. Change my mind.
Yeah, I'm so glad you introduced me to those videos, which, by the way, for the viewers, you should watch the videos by Steven Crowder, the Change Your Mind series, because you know he sets up on a college campus. He has a sign of what his stance is, and then it's a and then the poster says "Change My Mind." So he's inviting people to present their arguments to him and try to change his mind.
You know, open discourse. He gives them a microphone, and it's not just, oh, well, we'll argue over the internet. And no, we're going to sit right here in person. He talked. It was change my mind about the Second Amendment, change my mind about abortion, and I believe that there's a third one, but it's just escaping me right now. But go watch them all. Change my mind, Steven Crowder. Even if you would say that you yourself would never, ever, ever have an abortion, if you are a female, of course, don't, and you don't necessarily think that it's a problem if someone else does it, watch Steven Crowder's video. Your mind will be changed. I guarantee it. And it almost has the exact opposite effect. I've seen him, with the intention of someone else maybe changing his mind, change their mind instead. And that is just the best part. And that's like you said before. If you do have more of a moderate liberal who is more libertarian and just understands, okay, well, we can talk about things and it doesn't have to be a fight. Those are the ones, the fence sitters, as you called them. Those are the ones that you have more of a chance of listening to what you have to say. If they grew up like my friend did, hearing nothing but, you know, I'm this big old conservative, and my friend wanted to disagree with her dad so bad. But when she started talking to me and my dad about politics, she said, well, you guys you make so much more sense than my dad does. Maybe I just want to disagree with him because he's my dad. And it's like, you know what, that totally makes sense, but you're still open to talk about it. And that's what I appreciate about my friend, who is actually going to let me borrow her laptop so we can do a video on my channel. So if you guys want to see that, hopefully it'll be in the next week or so. Subscribe to me, and we will have Anarchia on my channel. We're going to talk about your history growing up Mormon, which I don't believe, maybe I've missed it, I don't believe you talked about it in your channel.
No, I haven't. So I'm sure my subscribers would love to hear about that.
It will definitely be interesting, and it'll be a learning experience. I had a friend of mine today, when I was telling her about that, she said, well, I don't know if you know this. I've been friends with her for many years. I mean, we're talking since we've been, I want to say, 9 years old. And she said, I was actually baptized Mormon shortly before I met you. And she said, and it was against my will. I did not want to do it. I said, really? I didn't know that. She said, yeah, I don't really make a habit of telling people, but watch the South Park episode about Mormonism, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I was like, well, that's South Park. She said, no, they're right. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna ask my friend, and we're gonna see what it was like for her, some common misconceptions and myths and truths about it. So I'm interested in learning about that.
Oh yeah. Okay, just give me 1 sec. I'm gonna bring on a guest here real quick. Hold on.
Okay. Heck yes! Excellent. It's Kenny.
Yes. Yeah, Kenny highly encourages, and I'm going to speak for him because you can't understand him because, you know, his words are all muffled. Yeah, exactly. The South Park episode really is, how do I want to say this? It's very blunt and it's true.
Yep, and that is basically. I'm gonna watch that just as more of like a comedic idea, and then I'm gonna watch some documentaries because it's been a couple years since I've seen one. But I will be very interested in learning about that. Funny side note about Kenny before I forget: my fiance's aunt, her son is named Kenny, not Kenneth, Kenny, after South Park. His aunt legitimately named her son Kenny after South Park, and his personality is very much so like Kenny, except that you can hear what he says every single time, minus the hood, of course. But that's great. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. Do you have anybody asking any questions or anything down in the chat?
Um,
Anything
I'm
of
not, I'm not seeing anything. I have the chat open. I'm not really seeing if anyone has any questions. I posted a comment testing to see if anyone can see it. But, well, I had already asked this question earlier. I had someone message me and ask me if, you know, they wanted to ask you about the faculty members because I think a lot of people are interested in how the faculty reacts to these events. I mean, we've heard about the worst cases.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, it's when I was in college, like we were saying, in 2013, I graduated. So that was just the beginning, I think, of when that stuff started. Well, I think it started a long time ago, but
Yeah,
where it
for sure.
started to get intense.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I
so
graduated just as it started to get intense. And so I can't say from personal experience whether or not my professors would have been against Milo coming onto campus or not. I would have loved to have attended the event, but
say it could have been different at that time, starting off when he was first starting. I didn't start watching him until maybe summer of 2016, so I was only a fan about 6 months or so before I actually spoke with him there. So he referred to me as the lady in the salmon based on my response. He asked me, he said, "Well, what color shirt is that? Fuchsia?" And I said, "Salmon." So I was henceforth known as the lady in the salmon. So it's kind of like Milo has like a little pet name for me. I think we're friends. I'm not really sure, but he sure is a character. He's a great person, a great role model, and just he's like the iceberg, and the social justice warriors are the Titanic, and he's gonna sink them.
what I really appreciate about Milo, and this goes into what he says in his book Dangerous. He talks a lot about, and it really resonated with me because I found that I've had this problem with trying to you know, reach out to a different group of people to have a conversation with me. Is that I will write these like perfect essays basically about my argument, but the only people that will read them are those that already agree with me.
Oh
But
yeah,
the way Milo, he's able to get the attention of people that disagree with him is because he's provocative and he's unapologetic about being provocative. And
exactly.
he draws them in because what I love about his talks is people think, oh, he's just provocative, he's just trying to get attention, but he does that to draw the audience in, and then he hits home with his argument, his reasoning, the morality behind of what he says. And that really resonated with me because I'm like, okay, you know,
It's like the blunt shock factor. It's like he'll say certain things, and you almost think, I mean, well, how do I argue? How do you argue that? I mean, he's right, you know. So I mean, my dad has said similar things about, you know, when you just write a bunch. My dad writes a blog, and he's almost quadrupled his amount of people who read it by joining conservative groups on Facebook and posting his articles in there. And he says occasionally, you know, a social justice warrior will come in through the cracks, and they'll get so upset, and he can just tell based on their response they didn't even read it. They read the title and they saw the picture of Trump and they got upset, and that's it. It's like he can, okay, I can tell you didn't read it. Have a good day. And that's the same thing with some of my videos. People will get upset and they'll say, well, what about such and such? And it's like, oh, man, really, if you're that confused, why don't you watch it again? It was only 9 minutes long. It's like I said what I believed, but apparently, I mean, the same thing. Milo's a Nazi. Milo's a white nationalist. This, and this. But he's not. But no matter how many times you may try to prove to these people, based on facts, that he's not any of these things, they already have their mind made up. Like I said to you the other day, somebody called me a cunt in a comment, and I'm just thinking, gosh, if that made you feel better and you can go on about your day, I hope you have a wonderful day, sir.
and coming from someone that probably is like, oh, how dare you offend someone? Yet they don't seem to care if they offend someone that disagrees with them.
Right.
It's not. I think that's what really turned me off to, like what we were talking earlier about being exposed to feminism.
Mm-hmm.
I was having a hard time with their not consistency in the
argument. Oh yeah, the lack of being able to apply the same logic elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And that's the number one flaw with feminism is scare tactics and made up facts.
It's like I think what really bothers me is that, you know, there's people who will, I think people who will engage in an honest conversation, they have to have the goal of wanting to obtain truth or wanting to obtain some sort of objective truth. But there are those that go into arguments where propaganda is king, or they're, you know, they're what's the word I want to use? Their agenda. It's all based. You know, they're going to support an agenda.
Here's one thing that somebody actually brought up with me yesterday that I would agree on. I was having a discussion with somebody, you know, about gun things, and they said, well, regardless of what's going on, you have your agenda and I have mine. Fair enough. Fair enough. No matter what your beliefs are, if you're going out with an argument or a discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it, with somebody, you are arguing from your point of view. Your agenda is what you are pushing. It's not necessarily a bad thing to push an agenda. It's a matter of how is it pushed. Like, for example, the Elsa Gate and anything to do with children and pedophilia that's been going on in YouTube. Those are just things that, don't even get me started about the agenda pushing when it comes to children. Using the children as political pawns, and that's something that could be an entirely other stream with you, which I'd totally be willing to do, by the way.
Yeah.
Milo's briefly touched on that, especially around the time that he had his whole pedophilia scandal, and I had people saying to me, oh, well, look at that, your Milo's not so great now, is he? It's like, okay. You mean to tell me that I didn't already know about this interview? This was not news to me. I heard that interview way before, and I already knew that it was taken out of context, and everybody was blowing it out of proportion. It was like, oh, that interview? Oh, come on. The one on Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience. I'm sure, did you see the original clips from that? Back when he was fire?
I think I saw a few of them. I don't think I saw the whole thing.
It was a bunch of mumbo jumbo based on Milo having been sexually abused by an adult male when he was younger, he turned out to be called the pedophile. So it was a big mistake on his part to word things the way he did, and he came out and he apologized, and all of his true fans understood what he meant, but it was the left who was just so badly trying to take him down, because what's worse than being called a homophobe when you're gay? We can call him a pedophile. That's it. And it's like, well, what could possibly be next? What could they possibly call Milo next? He's already been called the worst possible thing. Oh, what are they going to call him? A social justice warrior? I guess that's worse. Oh, man. But
Yeah, that.
all in all, I would have to say I have very much so enjoyed this live stream so far.
Yeah, I have to. Thank you so much for being willing to talk about your experience at the Milo event.
It's nice to have friends who actually know who Milo is. Whether we've met in person, it's nice to say, hey, did you see that one thing? Oh, yes, I did. That was great. I don't get a chance to geek out with many people about Milo, except for my dad. My dad is actually the one who introduced me to Milo. Well, introduced me to Milo's speeches in general. My dad wasn't like
so,
friend.
one of the questions I wanted to ask you at the beginning, I guess, we can talk about it now, was what drew you to Milo or wanting to go to a Milo event?
It was not just the sheer fact that I enjoyed his content. It was something that looked to me like it was like a thrilling moment to be able to essentially have the like I said, the Black Lives Matter sign in the wild. It was everything that I saw on the internet that I thought all these crazy people, they couldn't possibly exist, and they do. They absolutely do. It was the thrill of it all, the want for me to ask him a question and hoping that I actually got to, and then being able to. It was everything in the world. It was like being wrapped up in a warm fuzzy blanket while eating chocolate and watching your favorite movie. It was like the happy, warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you slip into a bed with clean bed sheets on. It was everything. It was the feeling you got when Hillary Clinton lost. It was all of those things all on that day. It was a good feeling.
I think what really drew me to Milo, and what I really admire about him, is the audience that he was trying to target. Because I know a lot of great people in the liberty movement that have a lot of wonderful things to say, but they somehow don't end up making it to college students and college campuses. And this is where Marxism and, all of the socialist propaganda is the strongest, and this is where a lot of it is coming from. And to see, so when I heard about Milo, my friend being triggered by Milo, and I started listening to him a little bit, because I'm like, okay, I'm like, obviously he's a troll. So at first I was like, my response to my friend was, well, he's trolling, right? Like, why are you taking him, like, those comments so seriously? And then I started to admire about what he was actually trying to get trying to get across to people on college campuses. And then I realized there's not a lot of people in the liberty movement that are able to reach these people on college campuses.
Oh, of course. And it's the same. I believe deeply, deeply, deep down inside that on college campuses and in college in general, that there are not as many conservatives as there are in the real voting world, because let's be honest, people in college are primarily liberal, but there are people who are conservatives but won't be open about it in college. I think it's the same thing with the whole Trump movement. Oh, he's gonna lose. Oh, he's done for. And then boom, he won. Oh, and he won by a decent amount. Where did all these Trump supporters come from? And I think it's the same thing. They're closeted conservatives, as they say. I mean, Milo said in the past, it was harder for me to come out as conservative than it was for me to come out as gay. And I think that that's something in and of itself.
Yeah, and that says a lot. You know, thinking back to when I was in college, I wasn't super political when I first started college. But now looking back, I'm like, if I really was super open about my conservative views, because I think a lot of people that lean more conservative or libertarian, I guess, they're not so forceful about their political views. They really have this mentality of, leave me alone, kind of thing. You do your thing, don't force your thing on me. But had I been more open about it, I probably would have made a lot of enemies.
Oh, and especially, I mean, during the election, I had two very good friends that I grew up with. That's basically all I'll say right now. That both of them wanted to get rid of me after the election. I got deleted from Facebook. I was just this. I was just this stupid Trump supporter. I mean, to them, it was that was the bottom line. Forget the years of friendship and all the good times we had. You know, that's okay. They're not invited to my wedding. It doesn't matter. And I still wish them well. They're still good people. But when someone says to me, "I'm done with you," okay, see you later. I'm not gonna fight for something as trivial as, oh, our political differences. Oh, that's totally gonna get in the way of our friendship. It doesn't bother me. I mean, the majority of my friends still to this day, they're not conservative. They're not even. Some of them aren't even libertarian. I see some of them post things on Facebook, and I roll my eyes daily. But I love them so much. And that's one thing that I think another difference between conservatives and liberals is their conservatives' politics do not bleed over into their everyday life. They're able to separate. Okay, my politics are here, but these people are my family. I mean, some of my favorite people in my family voted for Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. That has no bearing on whether I like them as a person. I think that's the biggest difference that we have right now between the two sides.
Yeah. So, I guess it's been almost an hour and a half.
Oh,
Um,
really?
I
Time
think
flies. We're having fun. See, it has no counter for me. It just says live and it shows you. I see nothing. There could be 600 people here, or there could be one person here, and I wouldn't know the difference. Bijou's here. My cat's here. She's been watching me. I think she has stage fright. She's not on right now.
yeah, I've noticed that she hasn't been.
Oh, she has been here. She is always within arm's reach.
Oh.
Bijou is really the star of my channel. In case any of you are curious about what I do very similar things to Anarchia. I do cultural videos. I do more reaction videos to just crazy social justice warrior things. The creepiest, weirdest side of the internet that you might not necessarily want to go to, but once you're there, it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is everything. So that is the creepy side of the internet, the dark web that I cover. And just put my opinion out there as a woman who is soon to be married, who wants to be a mother. My opinion out there in the world, and just my take on things. So check my videos out. I do some cool things, I think. My mom likes my videos, so you might too.
Well, that's more than I think a lot of YouTubers can say because I don't know if my parents watch my videos at all. So
If you do, hi mom. No, my mom does not have a YouTube account or any way to figure out how to use the internet. She said, just send me the link when it's all done and I'll watch it tomorrow night. So she's probably gonna watch it over a salad or something at dinner tomorrow. In her jammies on the couch, she'll watch this. But parents are great. My parents are very supportive of what I do, so it's fun. Someone has accused me once on my channel. They said, I can't believe that you're making money off of something like this and you're complaining. It was something to do with children and everything. I haven't made a cent on YouTube. Are you kidding me? Oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm not paid propaganda. I'm not a Russian. Get your conspiracy theories out of here. Yes, you'll.
Well, I'm gonna get that accusation soon because I'm engaged to a Russian.
I
So
was gonna say, ask your fiance. So, do you work for Putin? I didn't think so. Tell him, when's the last time you got a text from good old Vladimir?
yeah, what was the last?
They had dinner together last week. It was no big deal. Just dinner and a couple drinks. They're bros. Well, it was wonderful being here. I appreciate it very, very, very much.
Oh yeah, so I have one last question for
Oh,
you
yes,
in,
go for
in
it.
closing before we so for those, what advice do you have in preparing for those who would like to attend future Milo events? I know a lot has changed now since then. Things have escalated, or as the phrase goes, things escalated quickly. With
My biggest, I mean, even for anything, whether it be a concert, because you know, unfortunately, nowhere is safe now.
yeah,
You know, after Mandalay Bay, there's not even a concert venue is not safe. So take this as whether you're going to see Milo or even if you're going to a movie theater. Don't go somewhere where you're going to be distracted to the point of not paying attention to your surroundings. Always look, always listen, always pay attention to what's going on around you, and just basically use your best judgment. If you see like there's going to be some sort of fight or big thing going on, don't be a rubbernecker like people on the highway driving past an accident, like, oh, wow, and then slowing everybody else down. Stay out of the way if there's any type of problem or drama, and just be smart, be vigilant. Don't wear high heels if you have to run away from something stupid. You know, little things like that. Common sense, I guess. I can't really walk in heels anyway, so I wouldn't wear them.
I I can't either. So especially if I can't carry, I definitely would at least like to run, be able to
You
run away.
you
So
seem much taller than me to begin with. I'm only 5'2". I'm not sure how tall you are.
I'm about 5'7". So
Oh, all right, that makes sense. I figured you were probably about 5 inches taller than me. No, I'm I think 3.5 inches away from being certifiably a midget or something, or something like that. My sister's actually 4'11", so her nickname has been midget for a very long time.
oh
Or,
wow.
but yes, anything else that you can think of? Any other questions down in the chat? I don't know if you have it brought up or you just kind of go back between it.
Um
Anybody have anything that you want to know, whether it's a question for Anarchia or for me?
um I don't know if I set this up right, and I don't know if people are watching and they just can't. I don't think they can comment.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
that's on my part. But
well,
obviously, all these questions and stuff will disappear once the live stream is posted. So I guess we can look at comments and questions after. Uh,
yeah,
video.
drop when this is done. Drop a comment down in the comment section, and maybe we'll do this. We'll do this again. I could even have a section of answering questions on my video when I interview you beforehand. Who knows? Whatever. We'll come on and do this again. I have almost nothing but free time minus work and wedding planning. So
Oh yeah, same here. Have to do the wedding planning and work and all that good stuff.
oh, the fun joys of being an adult.
Oh yeah, adulting.
Oh, adulting 101. I would like a refund. My subscription from Adult Weekly has expired. I do not want to continue. But it was lovely talking to you. Thank you again for having me on. And anybody who's watching from my channel, subscribe to her because she's really cool and she's cooler than me. And you just do it. Just do it.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for watching tonight, and please subscribe to Alicia's channel. Her content is very entertaining. She has
Thank you. Thank you very much.
a great sense of humor, and yeah,
Well,
I love her video. Oh yeah, by the way, one video that I really liked of yours that I found was you had done a video on a Simpsons episode mocking social justice.
I think that was my Cinco de Milo episode.
Yeah, it was Cinco de Milo.
I
Yeah,
briefly talked about that. That was fantastic. I was like, The Simpsons, is almost like South Park, where they will just show it like it is, and it's like, you know what? That is exactly how it is. You are spot on. But heck yes. Well, my cat is whining at me, so I guess I have to go pay attention to her now.
Okay, so yeah, everyone, please go subscribe to her channel, and feel free to leave any questions you have below in the comment section. And
cool. I just got a new subscriber, Sangy544. Thank you very much.
oh, cool.
Yeah. Well,
All
you
right.
have a fantabulous night.
You too.
Thank you very much. And we will talk very soon. Hopefully, we'll get this other live stream on my channel up and going for next week, and we will be able to have some fun over there.
Yep, we'll have some fun talking about Mormonism.
Ooh, yes. All right. Thank you all very much. Have a good night, everybody, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Well, I'm going to sign out, and then you can say your outro and everything. So, thank you again. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you, Elisha.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. As I said before, please subscribe to Elisha's channel. Her content is very entertaining, and she's a wonderful person and an engaging person to talk to. So yeah, any questions you have, please comment below. I'm not sure if I had set this up. This is my first live interview that I've done. So if any of you wanted to comment but weren't able to, I'm sorry about that. But go ahead and comment now, because your comments will not be deleted after I stop broadcasting. So thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time.